You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hi guys, welcome. This is a juicy topic that I'm really passionate about because if you have those gut instincts or those little inklings that you are ready for something more in your career or your life, or you're not sure why, but you just feel like there's more out there for you, or you're looking for more passion, maybe the job pays the bills, but it's not what lights you up, or you've always wanted something of your own. I want to talk about what that means. I want to talk about how you know if you are ready to begin a side hustle or online business of some kind. If we haven't met yet, hello, my name is Jessica Johnson, and I was in your position years ago. I was working a corporate job. I actually enjoyed the work decently enough. I felt like I could be creative, and it was challenging to me, and I liked I felt like I was doing what I should be doing. I was getting the promotions. I was climbing the ladder. I was doing the career that I set out to do many years ago and was told to do all throughout my life. But I just felt like I craved something of my own. I wanted more fulfillment. I wanted a little bit more freedom to be my own boss. And I started seeing other people who had followed this path. And I was so curious about how they did it. And I also had so many questions and doubts and fears around how to know what to do, if it was the right time to make a change, like what I should even do to begin. I want to illuminate a little bit of that in case you're in a similar position and just talk through how to know if you're ready to begin doing a side hustle or online business. Okay, so someone else may have different ideas, but when I was thinking about this topic and how to really serve you and maybe give you some pointers, these are the things that spoke to me and that I feel like you can just trust to know that it's time for that next path. Okay. So the first one, I think if you have those gut instincts that it's time for a change or you're interested in something, they are there for a reason. Okay, so that alone qualifies you to begin checking out a side hustle or online business or your next creative project, writing the book, starting the podcast, whatever it is. Check those gut instincts. Check your curiosities. What are you just kind of interested in? What are you drawn to? If you see someone at an art fair and you think, I wish I could do art like that, that is what your instincts are saying to you. That is something calling to you because not everyone has that instinct. If you see someone else who's doing health coaching and you think, that's so inspiring, I wonder if I could do something like that. Don't just write off that thought. That is your feelings, your instincts speaking to you. So many of my actual businesses started out as just chasing those little curiosities. It was just starting to take night classes in nutrition or in digital publishing, just because I had these random interests in these things that didn't even, by the way, connect. And then let me just fast forward a little bit for you. What I ended up doing was writing content and building an agency and writing for these healthcare brands. So these two things that had no connection, seemingly, nutrition and health and the digital publishing, years later ended up merging into an entire business that gave me freedom to work from anywhere, flexibility in my schedule, finances. I doubled my corporate salary and beyond. So just a little aside, you never know where these things will lead you or why they're there. But the fact is, they are speaking to you. You are the one that's getting them. You are the one that's feeling pulled in these seemingly random ways. So I think that is the first thing to start paying attention to instead of pushing down or nudging away or thinking it's for someone else or making all these stories about how it doesn't make sense. It might not make sense. It doesn't have to because you cannot see the whole story yet. You cannot see the bigger picture of where those things are trying to lead you. Just picture them as almost like the carrot, where you dangle a carrot and then the rabbit chases it or something, whatever that scenario is. But that's just the thing that's like getting your eye and getting your attention to pull you into this world that you might even like not even know about yet. So, first thing is just trust those gut instincts. If you have those inklings, if you have those curiosities, if you have those random questions or passions, or things that you want to do, classes you want to take, trust that and follow it and see where it leads you. You're already starting to your life, I think, is already starting to speak to you and to bring you down the path of building your own thing. And if you don't have an idea for it, just look around at the things that you are curious about or want to study in your free time, or are, seeing other people doing that you kind of are jealous about, and use that as your first kind of map to what you could explore. Okay. The second way, so the first way is like checking if you have those instincts because that's your life speaking to you and preparing you for your next chapter. The second way is if you feel uncomfortable imagining staying where you're at and not having any change for the next year or 5 years, that's another sign that something's brewing, that your life is speaking to you and is opening you up and softening you to this idea of the next chapter. All right. Because if you didn't have these instincts, if you felt like you were doing everything you wanted to do, then that's one thing. But if you can't imagine it, if you feel like you would be missing something, that means you would be missing something, because there are some people out there who don't have these nudges, who don't have these urges, who feel like they are in their job and they're on the right path, who love chasing the promotions, who love the industry they're in, who couldn't imagine doing work in any other way, or who may be dissatisfied with their work, but aren't starting to get these other feelings saying there could be more yet. So the fact that you are means that there's something else out there for you, means that your life feels you're in a place where it can get your attention and pull you into something bigger. Okay. So really for me, like when I was in that corporate position, I started to get to a place where I felt so uncomfortable thinking about doing the exact same thing for the next 5 or 10 years. Or if I knew that if I didn't take a chance on something and I was still doing the exact same thing 1 year later, I would feel like I had not like wasted that year, but kind of like would feel like I had missed an opportunity that year. I would feel like I had outgrown something in my life. There's this amazing quote by Anais Nin who says, and then the time came when the risk to stay the same was more uncomfortable than the risk it took to blossom. Something like that. You might want to Google it, but it's really beautiful. And I've always thought of that quote because there's one thing about staying cozy and where you're at and loving it. And that's amazing if that's where you are. But you're listening to this episode. And so for you, there's probably something that has started to open up to the idea of blossoming and going down this other path. And so just being aware of that. If you cannot imagine staying where you are a year or 5 years from now, you have to take an action to just at least open yourself up to a different possibility or opportunity or life. Because the only way that you stay in the exact same spot is by doing the exact same thing with no change, right? Because certain actions always lead to certain results. You take a new action and you get a new result. So the one way to be sure that nothing changes in your life and you feel stuck where you are a year from now is to keep doing what you're doing every single day with no change, because these same actions are going to lead to the same results. So if you want maybe the possibility of a different future a year from now, if you want a different opportunity, if you want the potential for a different path, it's time to take a different action. And you'll know it. You'll know it's time because you cannot imagine doing the same thing day after day and a year from now not having experienced anything different. Like how heartbreaking would that be? I was once talking with, a girlfriend recently, and she had mentioned how, you can draw out your life as these like 80 boxes. Imagine you live to 80, maybe longer, hopefully, but 80 boxes. And so if you are willing to cross off another one of those boxes and not have changed anything about it, that's totally fine. But if you cannot sit with that feeling and you feel like that would have been a waste of that one box out of 80 on this little tiny sticky note, you know that it's time to do something different. It's time to make a little change, right? So I think that's the second one is like the first one is you feel those gut instincts. The second one is it would like kill you inside to know that nothing changed by this time next year, that you were doing the exact same thing or 5 years or whatever it may be. The third thing is if you are looking for more freedom or fulfillment, this is the perfect time to start a side hustle or online business because we're at this time in history where you don't have to stay with the same company for 100 years or 50 years, right? Where you can learn anything online, where you can have the freedom to work from other places, that we have the internet, we have computers, you can do work all over the world. And so you could have been born at this time in history for a reason, where even if you've always been in a job that didn't give you a lot of location independence or schedule flexibility, where even if computers weren't around when you were born, depending on your age, they weren't when I was born. So I'm finally getting to feel like a little bit older now. They are now. Like you're at this amazing intersection in history where you can look anything up on YouTube. I'm talking to you from Denver. I don't know where you are, but I'm talking to you from this one little part in the world today. And that might change next week. And how amazing is that, right? Where you can go and you can look things up on YouTube, where you can take a program from a mentor, where you can invest in your own education and learning anything online. And it doesn't have to be through a 4-year program or degree that someone says, here's the paper that qualifies you. There are people out there who are learning how to be engineers from programs online and not even traditional programs, right? Like colleges. So I think that is just something amazing to realize where if you have a urge for more freedom, for more fulfillment, not everyone has that urge. You do though. So how can you use that urge to inspire an action that moves you a little bit closer towards it? So if freedom is what you desire and you want the freedom, you want the feeling of freedom, what's an action you can take that will make you feel a little more freedom in your life? Is it carving out 2 hours one day a week to work on something that just makes your soul come alive? Is it going somewhere new and feeling the spark of new ideas from that? If you're looking for more fulfillment, is it signing up for like a volunteer project that you love? Is it taking an art class or just doing something for the sake of doing something because it makes your soul happy? Is it reading? Is it going for a walk in nature? Is it writing the memoir you've wanted to write? Is it signing up to start the side hustle or the business? Like, what for you would give you a little taste of that freedom or fulfillment or financial opportunity or flexibility? And how can you start calling that in now? Because there's a limited opportunity in this day and age, and you having a story about it not being for you or being too late for you or being for someone else or it's out there for them, but how nice, that is just your brain trying to keep you safe. That is just your brain giving you a story that makes you feel better about staying where you are and staying comfortable. And it's loving, it's trying to do it from a good place because it doesn't want you to feel the pain of discomfort. It wants to keep things nice and cozy and comfortable. But point two, you already know that what you're doing now would make you feel really uncomfortable if you stayed there. So it's okay to mix it up. And you can just lovingly tell your brain that, like, thank you for trying to keep me safe, but we got to keep moving here. I'm going to try something different. Like, it might be uncomfortable, but I'm good. I've got this. I expect it. And that will kind of calm those voices and give you the chance to pursue those opportunities. And it's not saying that everyone has the same opportunity or that it's all equal for everyone. That is not what I'm saying. But it's just saying that your brain is many ways tries to keep you safe and lovingly protect you. And there's so many ways out there to take a step forward into your dream, because that one little step will lead to another and another and another. So whatever that step looks like for you in your life and your circumstances, push it a little, get creative, get curious, see if there's a way to actually make it possible. See if there's a way to stretch for that one that feels out of reach right now. Start asking the question of, how could I make it possible? How could I get in touch with that person? How could I pursue that opportunity? How could I find the funding? How could I contact that mentor? And you might be surprised what your brain comes up with when you start asking those really smart questions. It is the smartest supercomputer, but it won't reach beyond what instructions you give it. So if you say things like it can't be done, or you're right, it's unsafe, or you're right, I feel uncomfortable, your brain will agree with you. But if you say, go out and show me how I can do this, show me how I get more freedom, how can I get more fulfillment? What's one action I can take? What's one way I could make that happen? Your brain is going to become your best ally and like co-pilot in helping you execute and coming up with these amazing opportunities that you never saw, that were never in your awareness until now. Okay. So that's the third one, is like, if you have that instinct for more freedom or fulfillment, that is a map for you. That is like one of those treasure maps that says, go this way, follow that, chase that carrot, and see where it leads you. The last thing that I would offer, where how you would know it's time for a change, time to try something new, time to build something. This is a question that I always use as a gauge in my life, is like, when you're 80, what will you look back at and regret more? Staying on your track now, or going for something, failing, or knowing that you at least tried, right? Because you might go for this thing and it might not work. But when you're 80, will you be really proud that you went for it? Will you be so thankful that at least you know how it turned out? That you now know the outcome, that you know that you went for it. And even if it was embarrassing, and even if it was uncomfortable, and even if you like fell on your face in front of people, that's a great story when you're 80, right? It's a way better story than I listened to my brain, keeping me safe. I didn't take any chances, but at least I stayed comfortable, even though you're not really that comfortable because you know that you've outgrown a place. Like, you want that story when you're 80 to look back and be like, I went for it. Like, I loved as hard as I could. I put my writing out there. I built a business. It was amazing, or it was a flop. And guess what? I don't care, because I tried. I lived my life fully. I went for it. So that's a gauge that I just always use for anything. When I'm at this crossroads and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do here, I think about little 80-year-old grandma version of me, and I'm like, what will she look back on and regret more? Going for it or not going for it? Going for it and having this experience, or not going for it and never knowing? And you might have a different answer than the person next to you. You will most likely have a different answer than your family member or your best friend or your coworker, your boss. I once heard Jamie Kern Lima, who is this amazing beauty entrepreneur and has an amazing story of how many no's she got in the beginning to eventually selling her business for $1 billion+. And so she had this amazing line about, you might not be crazy, you just might be first. You might not be crazy, you might be the first in your family to feel those nudges, right? To get those instincts, those inklings, those curiosities to want something different. And I literally get goosebumps even thinking about that quote, because it's so common and so powerful that people think that they are the wrong ones or the crazy ones, when really they're just the first ones, when really they just have a different path and purpose than the person sitting next to them, than their family lineage, right? Then what society is telling them they should want. So, if you're one of the ones who's called, if you're one of the ones who has that instinct, if you're one of the ones who feels those feelings, congratulations. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It means you're the first. It means you're the one. It means you're the one who's going to have to get uncomfortable and maybe do something different and pursue a different path, or try some things and fail at some things. But guess what? When you're 80, you're going to have some wild stories to look back on, and you're going to be so grateful that you went for it. So those are just 4 things, 4 gut checks where I think they can help inform if you're ready. One is if you feel those gut instincts, you know it's time for a change. The second one is you feel uncomfortable imagining being where you are in this exact same place with nothing different 1 year from now, or 5 or 10 years from now. The third one is if you are just looking for more freedom and fulfillment, now is the time. You are at the place in history when you can create it or begin to. And the fourth one is you would look back at 80 and regret not going for it in some way. So I hope those just give you ideas and permission, right? It's not the whole path. It's not exactly what you should do, but I bet some ideas came up as we were talking today. And I bet when I mentioned certain things, you got a little light bulb that said this way or not that way, right? So you already know. I think it's really a lot of permission around trusting your instincts, trusting those curiosities, those little passions, those little nudges from the universe that say, this way, or you might like this, or why don't you give this a try? Like those are not accidental. Those are not just small nudges, right? The language we've been using like minimizes them almost, but those are actually, what if that is your life speaking to you? What if that is the way your life gets in touch with you? What is that? What if that is the way the universe talks to you, is through those feelings and desires and instincts and knowings? You have to trust them a little bit more. You have to trust yourself. They're not random. They're not given to everyone. We just mentioned they're not given to your brother or sister or mother or father or boss or coworker. They're given to you. And there's something special about that. So follow them, lean into them. I would challenge you to take an action today to move forward in your dream, whether it is saying it aloud for the first time, whether it is signing up for a course that shows you a path to get there. I can put my programs below. They may be for you or they may not, but that can be an option if you feel called. Whether it's finding a mentor, whether it's booking a ticket, whether it's buying a URL or domain name, whether it's setting up the social media account, whether it's doing your first post, whether it's having a conversation, take one action today, however small, that at least moves you in a direction and gets that momentum started so that you are not sitting in the exact same place 1 year from now, so that you did take a different action. And that action sparks this whole cascade, this like domino effects in the universe of different opportunities and conversations and possibilities and job opportunities and a powerful intention that just propels you into different possibilities in your life. You never know where that can lead you. So take it today, however big, however small feels right to you. But know that if you are feeling those urges for a side hustle, for a business, for freedom, for fulfillment, they're not random. They're given to you. There's permission. I give you permission to lean into them and explore them. And you just may be so surprised and amazed and grateful 1 year from now for where they led you. And that could still be only the beginning.
If this episode resonated with you, I have 2 things you are going to love. One is a Bright Life workbook full of practices you can use to get clear on what your version of your brightest life looks like and fearlessly move towards it every day. And another is a copywriter starter kit full of beginning steps to create a copywriting business that gives you the freedom to travel the world working from anywhere, to replace a corporate salary as your own boss, and to do creative work that lights you up every day. It's lessons I've learned in creating my own content business, and I'm excited to share it with you if you're curious about doing the same. I will link these in the show notes. I hope these serve you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you back here next week as we all pursue our biggest, brightest lives together.